This is really peculiar. It turns out that this new computer, because I'm in my studio, not studio, I'm in my office, as you can see from the bookshelf behind, rather than the games. So so I'm using my new computer for the first time, and I was not aware that the computer had an internal microphone. So step away from the controls. Yes, I'm not touching them anymore. I'm now using the Blue Yeti. I think it might be distorting a little bit, so I'm just going to turn the gain down. And welcome to how to do a live Q&A using OBS while Paul learns all of this technical stuff. Yeah, this is really interesting. I'm going to have to do some more tests. So I'm currently using the Blue Yeti. So yeah, I am using the Blue Yeti. And I can see on OBS that that is the only one that's recording. This is really interesting. This new computer of mine, which is a desktop computer, seems to have some kind of internal microphone on it. Anyway, let's get on with the live Q&A. So thank you very much for joining. We've got the chat up. So yeah, as you can, people who are watching this, who've watched previous ones, you can see I've gone fancy. I've got obviously the image around the screen. I've got the chat window up here. So it's only distorting the chat, seems to be 20 seconds ahead of the audio. Okay, that's not ideal. I mean, there's nothing really I can do about that. I don't think. No, I mean, there shouldn't be any kind of delay. Rick's saying all seems fine. Jeffy's saying the video's really choppy. Yeah, the video's really choppy because of my broadband upload speed is 0.7 megabits. So I've had to really configure OBS down to a low bit rate, otherwise it wouldn't work at all. And until I get a better broadband at home, then unfortunately this is all I've got really for OBS. If anybody has any tips on how to configure OBS with a slow broadband speed, which I've spent a couple of hours today researching, and I've adjusted the settings within OBS according to everything I've learnt, and this is really the first test, so we shall see. Jeroni's saying that there's no video. There should be video. Chris, hi Chris. Chris is saying choppy but no delay. So yeah, the video being choppy, I can't do anything about. You're going to be seeing notifications popping up. So yeah, anyway, right, let's get on with some of the questions, because I've got to go pack at some point and I can't find all my socks. So, and I've just realised the brightness is probably too high on the screen, but I'm not going to bother changing that now. So, and I need to remember to look there, which is where the webcam is. Right, questions in. Thank you people who have sent me questions in advance. I have put them all down somewhere and lost them. Brilliant. Where have I put them? Here we go. So, first question in is from Lee Stoneman, and this is talking about Vital Lacerda's next game. Now, Vital Lacerda's next game, for most people, is Escape Plan, which is on Kickstarter right now. He's doing very well. I think he's reached 500k on the backing, and it's met lots of stretch goals, which is really cool to see. I'm really happy for Vital, and obviously Eagle Griffin are a client of mine, so it's nice to see that the game's doing well. But Lee wants to know about Vital's next game, which you might think is, well, wait a minute, surely everything is all, full steam ahead with Escape Plan, and he's working on Escape Plan 100% of the time. Well, no, he's not. He's a games designer, and Vital takes 2, 3, 4 years to develop and design his games. So the one that he's got coming out next after Escape Plan, and this will probably be 2019, if not 2020, is On Mars. And all I can tell you about it is that it's going to be set on Mars. Really disappointing. Sorry for building all of this up and then not giving you any information about it. I have deliberately avoided finding out anything else about it. Vital wants to tell me about it every time I speak to him, and we can only work on Escape Plan 2 or 3 days a week at the moment, because he is designing and developing on Mars. So he's spending a lot of time developing it. He does have it on Tabletopia, and I have seen various screenshots of it, but I am deliberately avoiding getting involved in it, even though he wants me involved. He wants to show me the game. He wants to play it on Tabletopia. And the reason is that I am working on so many games at once at the moment that I can't give my brain space. I don't have the brain capacity to even get involved in another game at this stage, because I know exactly what will happen is I'll play it and then suddenly I get sucked in, and I will be involved in the development of it, and I'll suddenly start giving comments and everything else. And at the moment I just don't have the capacity to do that. I'm pretty sure that what he's playing around with now is not going to be the final version of the game. I kind of want to see it in about 4 months' time, at which point a lot of the things will have changed, and that's about the time when I will get involved in it. So yes, on Mars, I know very little about it. So Debs and Susie are here. Hello. Right. Open it. Video is working okay. Right. Phil the Sheep's here. Hello. Right. On with the next question. So Bez always asks me very unusual questions, but this time these questions are pretty good. What do I do about slow players? Well, do slow players bother me? Slow players don't bother me as much as other people, and I know that because I have a number of friends, Mark specifically, who really doesn't like slow players, and it really bothers him, and it really annoys him and frustrates him. And that's how I know that it doesn't bother me as much. I want everybody at the gaming table to enjoy themselves, and forcing people to play at a speed which they are uncomfortable with just puts added pressure on them, and it's not fair on them. But I totally get that a game that takes twice as long as it should take is not as enjoyable for a lot of the other people. So it is a difficult situation. In order to encourage people who are playing slow when clearly other people at the table are getting frustrated by it, what would I do? I think all I would do is try to offer help with helping them maybe talk it through. If they're sitting there and they're thinking about it and they're not sure what to do, maybe say, look, do you want to talk over your options and let's go over some, and then, you know, do what you need to do. So yeah, it doesn't bother me that much. But within your play group, if you do have slow players, there does need to be some way of dealing with it. Slow players who acknowledge they're slow, that's the first hurdle, is getting them to acknowledge that they are slow and they are affecting the enjoyment of the game for everybody else. And as soon as you do that, as long as they accept it, hopefully you can then work with them on, how to try and get them out of that. But yeah, it can be tricky. Bez also wants to know what the maximum number of players that I have taught how to play a game at once. As if this is some kind of achievement. Oh yeah, I taught 20 people how to play, some roll and write game by use of a projector. That wouldn't be a problem. The things that I've done which I would never do again is I have taught 2 4-player games of Through the Ages at the same time. I have taught 2 4-player games of Alchemists at the same time, and I have taught 2 5-player games of Space Alert at the same time. I never want to do any of that again. It was just too much. When I'm doing my demos and my teaches, I want to concentrate 100%, which is why I don't play at the same time. I want to give everybody the best experience I can, and running those 2 games simultaneously back to back started off okay. I also ran 3 Tashkalar 2-player games at the same time, and again that started off well, but then as soon as one group got ahead of another group and another group needed a lot more help, then it kind of didn't work. So yeah, I don't really want to be teaching multiple games at the same time anymore. Right, going to the chat, let's have a look what we have here. Jeroni saying that the big pause token from Snowtails, use that for AP players. And a friend of mine, Adam, has the AP fork. So what you do is you get a fork and you just put it on the table and you call it the AP fork. AP is for analysis paralysis, and it's for players who get stuck in that decision-making process in their head. So you just put the AP fork in front of them and they realise what you're going to do with it if they don't speed up. Paul is saying that timers make things worse. I absolutely agree with that. If you put a timer in front of me, it has the reverse effect. Because what it does is it basically it puts my brain into a stressful situation and it locks down, and then I find it even harder to make a decision. So I don't need a timer in a game. I just need somebody to say, speed up a bit, and I'll speed up a bit. But yeah, put a timer in front of me, and stress levels go through the roof, and I just can't do it. The longest rule explanation I've ever done. When I wrote the script for Escape Plan, for those people who don't know, once I've written a script for a video, I like to actually test that script out. So I get people around my house who don't know anything about the game, and I literally read through the script word for word to see if they understand what I'm saying and to see if everything's in a logical order and it flows well. I test the script with people before I then do the filming. And the Escape Plan one was just over an hour. Thankfully, my final rules video is 45 minutes. So clearly doing it in person and pausing to just update the script a little bit added quite a bit of time. So yeah, that was about an hour. Andy's here. Hello, Andy. You're only here till 6. Yeah, I'm only here hopefully till 6 as well. Right, going back to the questions. So Oliver, Tabletop Games Blog. Hello, Oliver. Thank you for the questions. You want to know how much fun am I going to have at GenCon? Hint, lots and lots. Well, GenCon is going to be better than it was 2 years ago. 2 years ago, my GenCon was awful because I was working 15 or 16 hours a day because there were problems at CGE, not caused by me, but I decided to step up and try and fix them, and that ended up meaning working literally non-stop and running myself into the ground, and I didn't enjoy that at all. This year I will be working 9 till 6 with a bit of a break. On that break I will be rushing around the exhibit hall for those of you who have asked me to go and look at certain games, and whilst some of you might say, oh, we don't want you doing that, we want you to take a break, I want to do this type of content for you. So it's going to be good for me. It'll force me to take a break from the demoing. I will grab a quick burger somewhere and then I'll rush around the exhibit hall for an hour, do a few interviews, and do that each day, and hopefully produce some content that my patrons who can't go to GenCon want to see about. So you've given me a list of games. I will be going through and finding out where all of those exhibitors are, and I'll be doing that at lunchtime. I have the evenings relatively free, and I am arranging to meet up with a whole host of people, some patron supporters, some friends, and some other publishers, and I want a little bit of me time where I'm, one night I'm probably going to be teaching people how to play Dice Hospital because I will have written the script by then and I need to test the script. So that's work, but it'll be with people who I enjoy spending time with. So hopefully I'll be having some fun in the evenings. Right, a couple of other questions here. Favorite CGE game? Probably Through the Ages. Through the Ages is in my top 3 games of all time, and it's the only CGE game which is in my top 3 games of all time. So probably Through the Ages would be my CGE game. Andy wants to know what are my thoughts on Brass Lancashire. I have played Brass twice. Once, very, very long time ago when it first came out, and I liked the mechanics of the game. I thought it was cool in the way that it worked, but it was a bit long for me when I played it, and it was quite heavy at the time, and I don't think I was used to heavy games at the time. I have since played Age of Industry, and I own Age of Industry, and Age of Industry for me is a lighter version of Brass, and I like Age of Industry. Age of Industry is a lot more accessible. I can play Age of Industry with a greater percentage of my gaming group than I could Brass, and I like Age of Industry, so I don't feel the need to go one step further and play Brass. Now, Brass is probably the better game, but I'm happy with Age of Industry. So I know everybody's talking about Brass and how amazing it is at the moment, and that's great for Martin Wallace, for an old game to get that much attention again. But yeah, I'll happily stick with Age of Industry. How do you keep yourself entertained on long flights? Right, well, assuming I'm not, because I suffer from restless leg syndrome, which is a big problem on long flights, and I'm sometimes in intense agony that I have to take so many painkillers that I then end up basically sort of passing out. Assuming that's not, and I've been okay. The last year I was okay. I played a lot of Through the Ages on the app, but this year I will be working on 2 rulebooks and writing the script for the Dice Hospital. What rules video, which I'll be doing when I get back from HandyCon, I think. So yeah, I keep myself entertained with listening to Dresden Files audiobooks, listening to BBC Radio 4 comedy shows, playing games on the iPad, mainly Through the Ages because the challenges are really good and I enjoy playing Through the Ages, and also working on some Google Docs and scripts for rulebooks. Tom's here. Hello, Tom. Slicker Drips. Bob Ross Art of Chill was one of the few games you brought back last GenCon. How excited are you about their new Bob Ross title? Well, I'm not excited at all because I brought Bob Ross back for you. Now, I knew that the company who did Bob Ross have a new game this year, but I didn't realise it was a Bob Ross game. So if you want me to bring that back for you, drop me an email or a Facebook message and let me know. I didn't know it was another Bob Ross game. I just thought it was another game. Phil the Sheep wants to know, which parts of rules explanations do you find most difficult and how, if at all, have you overcome those difficulties? As the rules teacher for my group, I'm interested in ways to improve my own ones. Now, one of the things which many people have said about me is that my demos are fantastic, I'm amazing, I'm the best person at teaching games. And it's really nice to hear those sorts of things, but I'm really not, and I do make mistakes, and some mistakes I make are absolute howlers. And I've got better. Every time you do something, you get better, and every time you make a mistake, you get better at it. I've been teaching people how to play games now for 35 years, so I've had a lot of practice at it. And I still make mistakes, and I still get things wrong. What parts of rules explanations do you find most difficult? I'm not sure I can answer that question in the heat of the moment. It really depends on the game. There are certain games where there are fiddly parts of it. Bits that are, in my opinion, as a game player and developer, overcomplicated for the benefit they give. And I'm not going to name games here, but a lot of heavy games have that. They're like, oh, we do this bit and we do that bit and we do that bit and I understand that bit. Right, now this bit, you have to add 3, divide by 2, move this cube there, then do a little dance, then do this, then twiddle this thing and then do that in order to be able to do this. And I'm like, what? That's really complicated. Those bits I find exceptionally hard to explain to people, especially when there's no thematic reason for some of the... Move those 2 cubes from there to there. Why am I moving those 2 cubes? Because that's the rule of the game. When you do this action, you move 2 cubes from there to there. Oh, right, we're just going to have to remember that. So games which have a thematic explanation for those are a lot easier to explain. Debs wants to play Through the Ages. Absolutely. I love teaching Through the Ages. I love demoing Through the Ages. The next time we are at the same place together, let's do it. How much do you use theme in rules explanations? From David Digby. That's what I was saying with Phil. I use theme, especially when theme is in the rulebook. I always use it. When theme isn't in the rulebook, I invent my own theme, which tries to tie in with the theme of the game. So when I'm giving rules explanations, I always try to give a thematic explanation because that helps people remember it, especially when it's amusing as well. So, for example, in Escape Plan, when you go to the same location as another player, your notoriety will go up by 1. Now, there's no explanation for that in the rulebook. Vittel probably has a thematic explanation for it, but he's not told me, and it's not in the rulebook. So the last time we were demoing it, because the players used to be former members of, the crew that did the heist and have now fallen out with each other, we sort of said that if you go to the same location as somebody else, you end up having a big shouting match or an argument or a fight or whatever, and your notoriety goes up. Problem is the notoriety of the other player doesn't go up. So, I don't know what the thematic explanation is, but always try to find thematic explanation in games. Paul's talking nonsense about brass again. Yes, I am. Rick is playing Legacy of Dragonholt at the moment. What do you think of the choose your own adventure games, and are they really games? Well, for those people who know about my history in gaming, it all started with the fighting fantasy novel Warlock of Firetop Mountain. Without that, I wouldn't be where I am now. That was the first stepping stone to a much bigger hobby, which got me where I am now. So I do have a very fond memories of those games, and a few years ago I actually went back to them to play them again, And at the time, when I was 13, 14, 15, as they were coming out, they were amazing. I absolutely loved them. Now, when I go back to them, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, this was brilliant back then, but I'm not getting the same out of it now. As for whether they are really games or not, it really depends on your definition of games. Different people have different definitions of games. You know, The Mind, which is all the rage at the moment, many people are saying that's not a game, but many people are saying it is a game. So yeah, it depends on your definition of a game, really. Any other board game apps that you enjoy playing from Augusti Pellicer? Hearthstone? That's not a board game app, is it? I'm trying to think. I've got a few of them. The problem is, Through the Ages is so good as a game, and the implementation of the game is fantastic. Also, Galaxy Trucker from CGE, the implementation of the game is fantastic. And I don't wish this to sound like a sales pitch for CGE because I work for them, but the interface of those games is just exceptional. I have tried many other board game apps and they just fall short. They're full of bugs. The interface is clunky. It doesn't quite work properly. It's just, not good. I'm not saying all of them. Some of them are very good, but I'm not a big board game app person generally. I generally like my multiplayer games. Right, compression stockings for your legs. Yes, I need to try that. Right, Tommy's saying they've got 6 coming out. 6 Bob Ross games. Well, that's going to keep you happy, isn't it? Including a Brady Bunch game. Paul Bryant's here from Games Law. Afternoon. That reminds me. £25 gift voucher from Games Law. We're half an hour in and I've completely forgotten about it. So if you are watching this show live, then you can win a £25 gift voucher from Games Law. Now, I normally prepare this, and I have something that I say is the... So what you need to do is you need to send me an email. I'll put my email address in the chat right now. It's paul.grogan@outlook.com. Yeah, so send me an email right now. And, right, here we go. I have a piece from Mage Knight. This is I don't know. I think it's an Earth Elemental. There we go. So send me an email and put Earth Elemental. That's all you need to send me. But if you are a Patreon supporter, please let me know in the email because you will get an extra entry into the competition. So that's Earth Elemental. Send me an email. And I'll pick one lucky winner at the end of the show. If you are watching this back, not live, please don't send me an email. I will be doing the draw about 6 o'clock. As soon as this show has ended, I'll go through all my emails and I'll pick a winner. So thank you very much to Games Law for sponsoring the podcast and providing a £25 gift voucher. I'll do a repeat of this later on. Right. So, what have we got? Phil says, you started out with Walk of Fire Top Mountain. Did you ever map out the Maze of Zagor? Could you find your way through it from memory? Yes, I did. I'm the kind of person, I love maps. I've always liked maps. Lots of questions coming, lots of emails coming in. I don't know how I turn those off. It's a Windows 10 thing. I've not got used to Windows 10 yet. So yes, I'm the kind of person who likes making maps. Everywhere I went, every computer game I played, I would make a map. So yes, I definitely did map it out. Eden Hansen, what's the number one absolute top game you are looking forward to getting at GenCon? So I've kind of been joking about what I'm looking forward to at GenCon because I've no idea. I have been so out of the loop with everything that's going on. I mean, when everybody was talking about Lowlands and reviewing Lowlands and everybody's talking about it, I'd never heard of it, and I did a review of Luna that came out 8 years ago. That's how out of touch I am with things at the moment. I don't really know what's coming out at GenCon. I haven't had chance to look. So what I've done is I have asked my Patreon supporters to tell me what they want to see at GenCon, and I'm going to be going around and finding out those things. So the draw code word is Earth Elemental, Rick, for those people who missed it. And I am trying to snooze all these things. Let's just go to, what I'm going to do is no, let's not bother. Right. Yeah, Earth Elemental. That's what you need to do. Drop me an email, say the words Earth Elemental. Let me know if you're a Patreon supporter, and I'll get you into the competition. How many pairs of socks have you packed? Tuesday, going on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and a spare pair. And they're all labelled with the days of the week, just so that I don't accidentally wear the same pair of socks twice. Hi, Adam. Adam's here, the man of stone. We talked about you earlier on. Talked about the AP fork again. Right, next lot of questions. No, that's my... Where's the questions? I'm all completely... Right, yes. Stuart, Boston, wants to know... people who talk about... people who like games which involve rolling dice for combat, how do I tell them that they're wrong? So the way that I explain things to people is I'll explain it, and then if they're not getting it, I'll say the same thing again, slower and louder. And if they still don't get it, I do it again. I try this at home with Vicky as well, and it really annoys her. I think it works. She said it doesn't work, and she said it's patronising, but I still do it. Because quite often, I mean, it sounds silly, but when you're explaining the rules of a game to somebody, and you say, oh, in order to get in a locked business, you need a key. And they say, sorry, what was that again? And if you say, in order to get into a locked business, you need a key. And they go, oh, right. So yeah, repeating it sometimes a little bit slower, quite often, you know, they get it. Even if they heard the words the first time, it didn't quite sink in. You just say the same words again. It's a kind of teaching mechanism. And I know a lot of people say it doesn't work, and a lot of people say it does work. I do it, and I kind of do it as a bit of a joke, because the other people at the table kind of laugh, because I've clearly repeated it slower and louder. But yeah, it does work. So yeah, people who like games where you roll dice for combat, I've been known to play those games sometimes. But our last campaign of Descent that we were playing, eventually we just got fed up with the fact that the combat was random, and we stopped playing, and we felt it was a bit too random. Anyway, right. Graham saying he's tempted to email me something filthy so it pops up in the notifications. Yeah, if anybody knows how to turn the Windows 10 notifications off temporarily, then let me know. Phil is saying, Phil McDonald, feel exactly the same about Talisman as you do about Wall of Photo Mountain. Yeah, so when I was 13, 14, whatever, or even 15, 16, 17, because I'm younger than I am. I look younger than I am, which now is great because people think, oh, you're mid-30s, and I'm almost 50. But when I was 16, 17, I looked like I was like 13. So the chance of me getting into pubs or doing anything that the other kids were doing at the time was zero. So what I would do when I was 15, 16 is I would invite all my geeky friends around, and we'd sit and play Talisman for 8 hours a day on a Saturday. And instead, whenever we met like a monster as a card, I'd get some of my D&D miniatures out, and we'd use the miniatures. When I was that age, we had like nothing better than playing Talisman. And now Talisman is like one of you couldn't even pay me to play Talisman. So yeah, you're saying bland to the point of not worth playing it. Yeah, it's you roll the dice, you move around the board, you roll some more dice. Moved on since then. For those people who enjoy playing that kind of thing, that's absolutely fine. But yeah, not for me. Open notification center and enable focus assist. Oh, if only I knew what you were saying, Carl. Yeah, open notification center. I guess that's that. Right. And then, what was it? Oh, hang on a minute. What have I done? Where's the chat gone? Chat. Open notification center, enable focus assist. So there's the notification center. Mail, turn that off. Turn that off. We'll see what that does. Anyway, right, let's go back to the chat. Back to OBS. Thank you very much. We'll see if that works. Right, more questions. So Paul Luxton had an interesting question, and this is regarding my Patreon campaign, and this is not a plug for my Patreon campaign, but this is a valid question that Paul asked today, or Paul was having this conversation with somebody. Is you can back me at any level. You can even back me on Patreon at $1 a month, and I think the conversation was something along the lines of somebody said to Paul, "I don't want to back him at $1 a month. That feels like an insult." And I'm like, well, for me, it's not an insult, right? $1 a month really doesn't sound much. That's like 70 pence in the UK. So basically what you're saying is over the course of a year, you've bought me 2 coffees. That's what it is. is I back a number of other people at $1 a month, because I back quite a lot of other content creators. And actually, I have a list of other content creators who I don't currently back on Patreon that I want to support. And I will be going in and I will be supporting them at $1 a month. It's not much, but I support, I can't remember, 20, 30 other people. And some of them I support at more than $1 a month because I like a lot of what they do. Some of those content creators who I back at $1 a month, I don't consume any of their content because I don't have time. But I still want to support them in creating their content because they, like me, need the extra help. So $1 a month isn't much. Most people could afford that. And whilst it doesn't get you access to the higher level benefits of my Patreon campaign, like entry into the competition, name as on the credits as a producer, it doesn't get you any of that. What it does get you is it gets you one more number of people supporting me. And there's two factors for me. Whenever I look at my Patreon, there is obviously the money coming in per month. And I don't look at that money and say, oh, look, I'm now making $1,000 a month. And I'm close to making the $1,000 a month. What I do is I look at that and I go, right, $1,000, how many hours would I have to work in my paid job to earn that $1,000? That is now hours that I can spend creating other types of content. I love creating these Q&As, the review videos, and I want to be doing more live playthroughs and the podcast and everything else. All of that content I really enjoy creating, but it takes me away from the paid work and it takes me away for a lot of time. So I look at the, if say in a year's time, the Patreon campaign suddenly does really well and I get $2,000 a month, I'm going to start producing twice as much content as I currently do now. I will do even less work and do more fun stuff, which is a great thing. Anyway, what was I talking about? Yeah, but the other thing to consider is the number of people supporting me. And right now, let's just have a quick look on Patreon. Right, there's my packing list. So nobody wants to see my packing list for GenCon. So let's go there. Let's get the chat back up. I need to somehow lock that so it stays there. Right, patreon.com/gaming rules. And the number of people currently supporting me is 218. That is a nice number. 218 people who enjoy the content that I make that are happy to give me some money to do so. Now, some of those people are backing at $1 a month. Some people are backing at $10, $15, $20 a month. One person is backing me at $25 a month, which is like, wow, somebody likes what I do enough to give me $25 a month in order to keep doing it. And that's really nice to hear. But that 218 people is a great number. And I'm happy with that. So yes, if you're out there, you're listening to this and you feel that backing me for $1 a month is going to insult me, it's not. It's not going to insult me at all. You know, give what you can. $1 a month is showing that you support me, and that's really good. So I hope that answers the question. Let's go back to the chat. What have we got? How you find the roll to attack nature of Too Many Bones? Yeah, so Too Many Bones I've been super excited about, even though I don't actually know anything about it. So we will see. We will see. Sometimes, I mean, Arkham Horror living card game, I think the game is great. There are 2 game mechanics in that game which I absolutely detest in games, but I'm still playing it and I'm still loving it, and that is because the 80% of the game that is fine, I love, and I love it so much that makes up for the other 20% that I don't like. So yeah, Too Many Bones might be a fantastic game with a bit that I don't like. We will see. Right. Chris Stanton is saying he's about to set up Talisman to teach your 5-year-old. Put Talisman away, get out Twilight Struggle or Gloomhaven. Perfectly fine for 5-year-olds. Yeah, don't bother with Talisman. Just skip straight ahead to Gloomhaven. I'm sure you'll be fine. Some guy did a rules video on it. Just get her watching that, and if she can stay awake, then that's fine. Phil McDonald is saying that you're getting back into D&D again after 40 years, nearly 40 years after last playing it. Wow, that's some time, because it came out in, when did it come out? 73? 73, 74, 72, something like that, sometime in the 70s. I started in 82, and I pretty much played it until I moved down to Somerset and Devon. So I stopped playing it in about 2007. I kind of want to go back to it now and again, but I know that I don't have the time for it. The amount of time and effort that it took, because I used to write adventures and run games and everything else, it was just too intensive. Ian's here. Hi, Ian. Hope you have a good time at GenCon. Thank you very much. Right. So, what's the Patreon level where you get to insult me? None, really. You can just insult me in the chat, but bear in mind that there are a couple of admins there who might block you. Depends on what you say. Right. Questions. I think that was it for the questions that I had in advance. Oh, no, there wasn't. Oh, yeah, there was. Yeah. I'm getting my list mixed up. I've got my list of games that people want me to look at GenCon. I'll run through them quickly while I'm here. So, Paul Luxton wants me to look at Symphony Number 9. Don't know anything about that. But also Newton from Cool Mini or Not. Don't know anything about that. Daryl also wants me to look at Newton. Rick wants me to look at the Transformers LCG. Now, I don't know anything about that other than it's Transformers, and Transformers are cool. Oliver wants me to look at tripods and triplanes. Don't know anything about that. There's a running theme here. Dragon Castle. He wants me to look at Dragon Castle. I'm not sure why, because I've already done a review of Dragon Castle. Haunt the House. Never heard of it. Wreck Raiders. Nope. Harold wants me to look at Coimbra. Now, I think I've heard about that. I think I have seen lots of people playing that recently, but don't know anything about it myself. So I'll look at that for you. Stonebound Saga. If anybody knows any about these things, I hope you're not winding me up by just giving me random games and think that I'm going to spend 2 hours wandering the exhibit hall looking for them. No, I'm sure you wouldn't do that to me. Chewy wants me to look at Most Wanted from North Star Games. Tremor 1776 wants me to look at Dual Powers Revolution. And Adil wants me to look at Sword Crafters. So they are all the ones which I am currently going to look at. I'm also going to be looking at Detective from Portal Games, because that sounds exactly like the kind of game that me and Vicky would love to play together. I have a meeting set up with Zev from WizKids for him to talk to me about what WizKids are doing at the moment. I'm seeing Chip Theory about Too Many Bones. I'm seeing the guys from Hub Games about Holding On, which lots of people are talking about. So I'm going to be going and picking a copy of that up. I'm going to speak to somebody at FFG, because they're bound to make some announcement about some big new game that they've got coming out. I'm going to go and speak to my friend Gil Hover from Formal Ferret Games and see what he's got coming out. And that's it. I'm going to try and get all of them done in the 4 days that I'm there. Right, what else have we got on the chat? 13 Phyllis the Sheep saying 13 days as a short intro to Twilight Struggle. I've heard really good things about 13 days and not played it myself. So I need to. Yeah, just a quick shout out. If you are watching this live before 6 o'clock today, this is an Earth Elemental from Mage Knight. If you send me an email to paul.grogan@outlook.com with the words Earth Elemental, if you are a patron supporter, put that in the email as well. And at the end of this show, I will be doing a draw, and one lucky person can win £25 worth of game vouchers from Gameslaw. Thank you very much to Gameslaw for sponsoring the show as usual. And Paul is in the chat, or at least he was. Right, what else have we got in the chat? Phil's wondering why Paul hasn't kicked him out on general principle. I'm surprised Paul hasn't kicked me out of the chat for my comments on Brass. But you probably can't kick me out, I wouldn't have thought. I didn't say it was a bad game. Beth Sobel's here. Hi, Beth. Thanks for joining in. You're so looking forward to Coimbra as well. You love Lorenzo, same design team. I've not played Lorenzo. That's one of those games that I probably would really enjoy if I played it. It looks like my kind of game. So, yeah, I need to look at that. David Digby saying gizmos, please, Paul. Not sure what you mean by that. Is that a reference to 80s films, or is there a game called Gizmos? I'm not sure. Right, now Phil's talking about children covered in Nutella, which I'm not sure about. Um, Phil's saying the most anticipated game is U-Boat. Okay, so there's so many games coming out. I think there was 400 games that are coming out at GenCon, which seems insane. It really does. I mean, I know Essen has 800 new titles a year, but I didn't think GenCon was that big of a release date for things. But clearly it is. Arkham Horror LCG standalone adventures. Have I played any? No, I haven't. I have them all, which is technically correct. They're not mine. They're Rick's, but I've borrowed them. So I have them at the moment, but I haven't played any of them. In fact, I haven't played Arkham Horror since we last played, which is a shame because I love it. I just haven't had any time to play it. Gizmos is a game from Cool Mini or Not, a bit like Splendor. Okay. I didn't know about that. And David is saying that the most anticipated game for you is an engine builder from Cool Mini or Not. Cool Mini or Not seem to be doing quite a few games because we got Newton, unless it's Newton that you're talking about. And Gizmos is from Cool Mini or Not as well. So it looks like I will be going to the Cool Mini or Not stand. I'll probably pop by anyway and say hello because I did a good review of Dragon Castle for them. So yeah, Ricky's saying that he hasn't played the standalones yet, but he hears the Mask one is better than the Werewolf one. And I think, Rick, in your box, you've actually got some printed out fan-made scenarios as well. So for those people who've played through all of the Arkham Horror LCG stuff, there are some fan-made ones online as well. Right, a couple more questions before we wrap things up. Another correct entry to the competition. Is there an art style that attracts or repulses you when it comes to games? Yes, but I don't know what that art style would be. So, I mean, I like good art, and I know art is very subjective. So one person's definition of good is another person's bad. I recently did a review of Roads and Boats where I said that the front cover of the box is probably one of the worst pieces of artwork I've ever seen for a front cover of a box. Yeah, which it is. And I say that not being an artist myself and not being able to do any better, but when you look at some game boxes and the art is absolutely phenomenal, and then you look at Roads and Boats, and you think, yeah, they've not really spent much time on this, have they? So, yeah, I like good artwork. In terms of a style, there's a game recently that came out, Feudum. I really don't like that style at all. It looks like somebody's been sick on the board. It's like a pink and green. I don't like the colours they've used. I don't like the style of the artwork. For me, as long as the game is functional, I can look past the artwork. The problem is, from what I've heard about Feudum, is that a lot of the graphical design within the game makes it very hard to play. There are some things which are really tiny, some little line of bubbles that you have to see, and that's the path that your ship can take, or your submarine can take, or something like that. So yeah, I don't like the Feudum style or artwork at all. Other recent games, Dinosaur Island, I don't like the way that looks. It's bright pink and bright green, and it just doesn't look nice to me. The kind of style I like David Cochard's art style. I think he's fantastic. I like what's the one I'm thinking of? Michael Keller. Is it Michael Keller? No. Correct me. Somebody tell me in the chat. The guy who does the Stone Age artwork and Pillars of the Earth, and he did Legends of Andor, and he designed Legends of Andor. What's he called? I've completely forgotten his name. Anyway, him. I love his artwork. So yeah, there's a lot of styles that I do like, a lot of styles I don't like. Troyes or Troy or Trois or however you want to pronounce it. The style that's used in that game is very stylistic. It suits the theme of the game and the setting of the game, but I really don't like it. Yeah, that's another one which I don't like. Michael Menzel. Thank you very much, Beth. So yes, Michael Menzel. Said Michael Keller, didn't I? Yeah. So I was halfway there. So Michael Menzel's artwork, I think is fantastic. I love his style. I think his game boards, and it is true that I bought Pillars of the Earth purely based on how it looked visually. Turns out it's a fantastic game as well. But yeah, I'm so shallow. Back then, I bought games just because I thought the board looked good. Yeah, and that was it. So 22 seconds for a response from your question. Right, 22 seconds. That's what I need to wait. Right, Kieran is here. Only just been able to get on, so you might have already talked about it. Have you had a chance to play Age of Sigmar Champions? And what do you think of it? No, I haven't. Is that one of the new Games Workshop games that's come out? Because Games Workshop are absolutely knocking it out of the park right now. And there are probably 3 Games Workshop games right now that I really want to play, even if just to try them. You know, they're complete 180-degree change of direction that Games Workshop have done, both in the type of games, well, maybe not the type of games that they're doing, but the way that they are marketing their games and the way that they are now engaging with the community, and everything that Games Workshop are now doing to establish themselves as a modern games company is fantastic. And that has really turned me on to trying out some of their games. I want to try out Shadespire. I have heard of Age of Sigmar a lot. I don't quite know what Age of Sigmar is, whether it's a miniatures war game or it's a game like Hero Quest or something like that. And I don't know whether Age of Sigmar Champions is another type of game within the genre. But if somebody that I knew had a lot of these modern Games Workshop games, I would be more than happy to try them. They look fantastic. So, and yeah, as I said, I'm quite shallow, and I like games that look pretty. So is that about it? It's 5 to 6. We should probably start wrapping things up. Thank you very much to all the questions in advance. I hope I answered them. I wrote them all down on my piece of paper. So if I forgot some, then apologies for that. I will answer them next time. I'm off to GenCon tomorrow. I need to pack tonight, and I think I've done everything else I need to do. So it's just packing, charging the camera. I did have problems this afternoon because I attached my 2 lapel microphones into my video camera, which is what I'm going to be using to do the recording, and no sound was being picked up. So I think my camera needs powered microphones, and I don't have them. So I'm going to have to find some way of recording the audio in addition to my camera, which means downloading an app for the phone and everything. Anyway, I need to do all of that tonight. But I have a very early start tomorrow, flying at 9 o'clock in the morning. So I need to be up at 5, get dressed, get on the coach, get to the airport. Then I've got a 4-hour way to Amsterdam, where I will be working on the DICE Hospital script. And then a flight to Detroit. And then I finally arrive in Indianapolis at probably about 2 o'clock in the morning, my time, which will be about 8 o'clock in the evening, Indianapolis time. And then I'll be getting to the hotel and hopefully getting some sleep. Because Wednesday I'll be training all of the CGE demo staff, and it's full on. Normally I travel on a Monday, and I have the Tuesday as a kind of recovery day, helping set the room up and things like that. This year, with everything going on at home, I felt that an extra day at home was needed. So I'm here today. But it does mean that when I get there, I will basically be getting to sleep, a few hours sleep, hopefully more. You never know. And then I'll be at work first thing on the Wednesday morning. So yeah, it's going to be busy. So not all the Pel mics work on phones. You need an adapter. Yes, I've got that. I've actually done one test already, and it works fine. I just got a free voice recorder. But what I need to do is I need to interview Vicky and see if it works with me actually talking to somebody else. It's going to be a bit fiddly because I'm going to be holding the camera, and the audio on the camera is not going to be at all good in a noisy environment. So I'm going to be holding the camera and holding the phone with cables everywhere. We'll see if it works. I don't know. So yes, thank you very much to everybody for watching. Thank you again to all of my Patreon supporters for making this possible. Again, if you haven't entered the competition, you have 3 minutes. Send me an email, Earth Elemental. Just put that in the text. Send it to paul.grogan@outlook.com. And in 3 minutes time, well, probably 5 minutes time, I will do a draw, and one of you will win £25 worth of game vouchers. If you are not watching this live, then please don't send me an email. There's no point in me getting an email next week because I will have already done the draw. So yes, Dan and Dave from Spiral Galaxy are going to be there if I see them wandering around. Might be tricky. It's a big place, 60,000 people. We shall see. But yes, thank you very much for watching. I will now need to press a few buttons on this to stop the streaming. Take care. I will speak to you when I get back from GenCon. Look after yourselves, and thanks very much for all the support. And yeah, I'll see you soon.